Hey everybody, and welcome back to this episode of Photo Taco. In this episode, I want to introduce you to aerial drone photography. This is probably the coolest thing in photography right now. I mean, just think about it. We get all kinds of tech and gadgets for just photography and that, but now all that tech and gadgets that you're using for photography is flying in the air. This is the coolest thing ever. So the reason you would want to use a drone to do photography is to get that elevated perspective. For example, when you're doing real estate photography and you want to, look down on the house and get a feel for, the house and where it's placed on the lot and where it is in the neighborhood and the acreage that's around it, etc. So it's helpful for real estate photography. It's also helpful for nature and landscape photographers. I mean, it's so cool when, you're in a place that, isn't that interesting as a landscape, but then you look around and you see the patterns of the river and how it swirls around in an S pattern and the trees around it, and you realize, oh, this would look really cool from kind of an elevated perspective. And so you can just fly up your drone and get an amazing shot that way. It's also helpful if you're shooting like large groups, events, that kind of thing. You have to be careful there about flying over people, but it's such a unique perspective that the photos just look absolutely incredible. Also, I've used mine for extreme sports in Hawaii. So I wanted to photograph some surfers, but I didn't exactly want to paddle out there and get destroyed by the waves and try to hold on to my camera and stuff. And because I'm not a surfer, I'm terrible at it. And so I just grabbed my helicopter and flew out to where they were surfing, and I could get some really cool photos. It was especially funny because they couldn't see me. I was behind a little thing. They just couldn't see who was flying it. But they were all looking around everywhere. This thing followed around. It was pretty cool. So aerial photography is really fun for all those reasons. Now, the cost to get into it is really not that much. I mean, a DJI Phantom, between $800 and $1,200, depending which version you get and which model you get. But not very expensive to get started. And for $1,200, it even includes a camera with 4K video and your gimbal and everything. I mean, you're totally set to go. For $1,200 is really pretty incredible. And the competition is heating up as well. DJI has been, the de facto name in this for a while, but less so recently. I mean, more companies are stepping in, and that's going to drive prices down and features up, as it always does. So it's not very difficult to learn. I really wouldn't worry about that too much. It used to be when I bought my original DJI Phantom 1, which I think I bought a little bit too early before all the kinks had been worked out. Now we're up to version 3. There would be a lot of jello in the video. It just looks just all, you can tell it's not real stable. There's too much vibration in it. And so now that's all fixed. They have some gimbals, and the video from the newer DJI Phantoms are just silky smooth. It looks so good. So I bought a little bit too early. But what I did do before I started flying it with the camera on it is I at least bought some software called Real Flight. That's about $100, and what it does for you is it makes it so that you can you have an actual controller with a USB cord going to the computer, and then you can just practice flying, and then you see on your screen what the helicopter would do. And after I crashed those about 1,000 times, I felt really, really confident when I got the Phantom to be able to fly it without any problems. But that's not even totally necessary because the drones that we're using for aerial photography are so much more advanced than most hobbyist helicopters, because they have, first 4 rotors. I mean, that's going to give you a lot of stability, but also they have GPS built into them. And because they have GPS, it means that when you're flying and the wind pushes you one way, it's not a problem at all, because the GPS senses that the wind's pushing it, and it just brings the helicopter back to a stable point. It also means that if you're lost and you can't tell which way's forward and back sometimes as you spin it around, and then you see it out there and you're not quite sure how to fly it back, that's the biggest problem. Well, all I have to do is flip off the controller, just turn it off, where on the new version there's just a go home button that you click, and the helicopter, it's amazing. It just flies back to where you are and lands itself. It's so cool. I mean, that really takes a lot of the pressure off you when you're trying to learn how to do this stuff, to be able to have it fly home. That it whenever, I mean, it's like your panic button, and it brings it right back. So it really is not that difficult to do, but you have to learn your limitations. Once I saw a little kind of a hole in some branches, like this perfect circle in a tree that was out in the water. The tree was growing out in the water, and I thought, oh man, this is so cool. I've got to fly this over the water and through this hole in the tree because I can. I guess I thought it would be a cool video. Well, I got a little bit lost at how high it was. I kind of lost my perspective out there. The helicopter hits the tree and crashes to the ground with my camera in it. But remember, the ground is water, so it's floating in the water. And so I thought, oh no. And it was over a barbed wire fence. It was like a private. And so what did I do? And it's cold. It's probably 40 degrees outside, which I don't know what that is in Celsius, but it's close to freezing. And what did I do? I just took off everything except my shorts and jumped the barbed wire fence. I then kind of swam, kind of waded. It was really deep through the water. And what do you know? A little branch had held up my helicopter so it didn't get in the water. So I did have to learn a little bit of limitations of what I could and couldn't do, or should and shouldn't do with it. But it's been so fun to get some unique perspectives from my photography. Now, the last question is the legality of using these aerial drones, or I guess the FAA calls them unmanned aerial vehicles. And so the law basically says you can't do anything commercial with them. And that means if I take video and then sell it later, it means if I am taking pictures and stuff to use it on the website, no can do. So I kind of got demotivated to do more with this because of that. And improved photography is so visible that I think I would be a pretty good target for the FAA. So now, however, you can get an exemption from the law so that you can do this and even use it commercially. It's called the Section 333 exemption. And I walk you through how to get one on improvedphotography.com. I just published an article. If you're listening to this later, just press this little search button on the side of improvedphotography.com and search drone, and it'll just come right up. You'll be able to see that. So that's a little bit about getting started in aerial photography. I hope this was helpful for you and that you can hopefully get started in learning a little bit more about it.